Hey guys, today we're going to do the unboxing and overview of the Seiko SPB399. So this is a limited edition Seiko watch. It was released as part of their 110th anniversary, part of their craftsmanship series, and this is, I believe, the most expensive model out of that lineup. And I'll show you guys exactly why as we take a look at the watch. So yeah, this is the box. It's pretty plain looking. It just says Seiko. The box is made in Japan, which is nice, I guess. Wood cloth rayon, okay. So take a look, and all we get is a simple wooden box here. And I find that Japanese companies in general, Seiko, Orient, Citizen, yeah, they focus not so much on the presentation of the watch, but rather the watch itself. So yeah, compared to like Swiss companies, which come with like nice fancy boxes, yeah, Japanese companies don't really focus as much on the presentation. And then we get this booklet here with the instructions. So this particular model is using the 6R27 Seiko caliber. So you can see here, you can take characteristics, a mechanical watch, names of the parts here. We do have a day functionality here and a power reserve, and those are our two complications on this watch. So yeah, this is just instructions to set the time and the date here. Pretty self-explanatory, honestly. Yep, just pull the crown out, and date adjustment beginning month, how to read the power reserve indicator. So yeah, for people who have owned a lot of mechanical watches, I think not too much here. It's just the same, yeah, type of adjustments you would make. Mechanical watches, specifications, 29 jewels. Okay. So yeah, Seiko calibers are well respected within the watch industry. This is no different. 6R27 should be a pretty good caliber. Alright, so now let's look at the watch itself. Again, the box you have here, the box is made in Japan and wood cloth rayon. Okay, so it's nice. You have this nice solid, Japanese wood here. Again, they keep it very simplistic and minimalistic in the presentation compared to Swiss watch brands, and I find that some German brands are like this too. Like my Nomos, for example, also comes in a simple long wooden box, and that's it. Whereas Swiss brands tend to have this really fancy, box for everything. All right, so I'll show you guys now. Ready? All right, here it is, and it's a Seiko Presage limited edition. By the way, this watch is one of the most expensive Presage watches that I've ever seen. I paid $2,000 US for this watch. Believe it or not, this is, along with the Oris limited edition GMT, this is probably the most expensive watch I have in my collection, and it's a Seiko Presage. So yeah, most people just think of Seiko Presage as, their watch is under $1,000, right? But this one, because it's a limited edition, because of the craftsmanship that goes into the dial of this watch, that's why it's so expensive. And I think this might be the most expensive Seiko Presage. If you know a more expensive one, let me know, but $2,000 is a lot to pay for a Seiko Presage. It's not a Grand Seiko or anything, guys. It's a Seiko Presage. But to be fair, there is a lot of craftsmanship put into this watch, so that's why I went for the price, and it's a limited edition as well. It's limited to 800 pieces, actually. So yeah, let's take a look. So again, simple presentation. The watch itself is what we focus on, and here it is. So why is this watch, this model, so expensive? Well, it has to do with the dial. The dial is done with a special material called Chipo enamel, and it takes a lot of time and effort to create this kind of dial, because it's maybe not so noticeable from a distance. Right, from the distance it just looks like a dark blue dial, but then when you see it up close and you kind of hold it up to light, you can kind of see that there's like little small textures on the dial that almost like it's like the waves of an ocean, right? It's like the waves, right, in the open ocean or water or sea, right? It's just the way that they do it here is it's subtle, but you can tell that it was it's pretty good. I mean, there's a lot of craftsmanship that went into it. So not easy to do. Apparently they have to, the craftsman has to, you know, put layers of this enamel on. They have to fire it in an oven several times and repeat it in order to get this effect. It's a very subtle effect, right? It's not an effect that you would see from a distance or anything. So it's not like, if you're wearing this, probably most people will just think it's a dark blue dial until they look closely, until they inspect closely and they see like these patterns. And that's where you see why this Seiko Presage is so expensive. So yeah, actually here on the tags we can see here, celebrating 110 years of watchmaking, Shippo enamel. So far as I know, I think Japanese watches are the only ones that kind of use this material. So I actually get the craftsman, right? The name of the craftsman is Wataru Totani of Ando Koizon. The Shippo enamel dial is handcrafted, therefore there are some little dimples on the dial. This is a unique feature of handcrafted Shippo enamel. So there's a lot of craftsmanship that went into the dial, and honestly that's the strength of Japanese watches, I find. The strength of Japanese watches is they put a lot of effort into the dial. So you see that with Seikos, with Orients, with Citizen, yeah, all these like Japanese watches, they do put a lot of effort into the dial. Grand Seikos obviously have some of the best dials in watchmaking. And this leather strap is pretty good too. So it's this Seiko calf leather strap. It's pretty nice, this blue leather strap, of course, matching the dial. And then you can see at the back, Seiko Time Corporation, 29 jewels on this one. So here we go. Yeah, you can see Seiko, water resistant 10 bar, sapphire crystal, of course. And then this limited edition right here, limited to 800 units, as I said. This is number 384. And made in Japan, as you would expect at this price point. So one thing about Japanese watches is, although their dials are really, really good, and they focus a lot on the dials, I do wish that they would decorate the movements a bit more. So in my experience with Japanese, German, and Swiss watches, this is just generally speaking, Japanese watches tend to focus more on the dial, the appearance of the dial on the watch especially. They put a lot of time and effort into that. And then the polishing and everything is done really well. German watches tend to focus more on the functionality of the watch itself, but they generally try to keep it minimalistic. Some of them may have more decorated movements, but Swiss watches, they're all over the place, right? Because Swiss watches, you can have more affordable ones, you can have really expensive ones. So yeah, in general, I find that Swiss watches tend to decorate the movements a bit more. And their watches really ran the gamut, right? You can have really simplistic looking watches, you can have really complicated looking watches, but Swiss does tend to put a lot more interesting complications, I would say, on their watches. Like the tourbillon, for example, is something that you'll never really see in Japanese watches, but you'll see in high-end Swiss watches. So yeah, you'll have a lot of stuff in Swiss watches that you won't really find in other watches, because there is so many of them, such a wide variety. Japanese watches in general focus more on the dials, keeping it rather simple and functional though, otherwise. German watches, same thing, they tend to keep it more simple and functional, kind of having like a more clean look in general. So those I find are the major differences between the three major watch types, the Japanese, German versus Swiss. There's also Chinese watches, but those tend to be more derivative of Swiss designs, I find. Alright, so now let's take a look at the centerpiece of this watch, which is the brilliant Shippo enamel dial. So you can tell that they use applied Roman numerals here, which is nice. There's a date indicator here and a sub-dial, so that's actually pretty unique, I guess. You tend to see date indicators more on the side in a little window, or on the bottom in a little window, but here they use a sub-dial, which is a different way of doing it, which is nice. They have a power reserve right here. I actually don't have any other watches with power reserve. This is the only watch I have with power reserve. So it's nice, you can manually wind it. And then the hands, you can see that there are some gold accents here, which separate this from the other Shippo enamel models. So Seiko actually made a few other Shippo enamel models a few years ago. This one is different because of the main way you can tell is because the gold accents here. So there's a gold accent at the 12 o'clock marker and then the gold accent on the seconds hand here, and that's unique and specific to this model. Yeah, if you look up the previous models, they have one very similar, just without the gold accents, and cheaper as well. Yeah, but I like this one because I like to have this subtle gold accents as well, and you see gold accents on the power reserve and the sub dial here as well. Yeah, and then this is the crown. Notice that this watch is a bit thick. Yeah, it's definitely a bit thick, that's for sure. But maybe that's because it has to be done that way for this particular technique, maybe. It's a 40 millimeter or 40.5 millimeter diameter, so it's just at the sweet spot, I would say. Not too large, not too small. So yeah, you would this, and you would the date is set like this, so you can set that date right there in the sub dial. And then of course, setting the time, just pull that out. Right, and then that's it. And it has hacking as well, so I can just pull out the crown here, and then you can see the seconds hand stops, and if I push it back in, it should continue. Yeah, so that's to me, this is just a basic feature of any decent mechanical watch, right? So yeah, it's basically when you set the time, then you don't have the watch is like keeps running while you set the time, so it's obviously it's gonna be more accurate if it just stops and then you set the time like that. And then I can show you guys how it looks like on my wrist here. So I think this is a really nice sweet spot size here at 40.5. It's big enough to be noticeable, and where you can kind of just, people can notice it and you can show off, and you can see it more easily, but at the same time it's not too large as to be, you know, a little bit too much. So this is the right size, I think. And yeah, this blue color, I think, really needs to be in a bright area where sunlight is hitting it to be really appreciated. Because if you're in a dark area, I think maybe the textures don't come out as easily, and you can't really see like these textures as easily in darker areas. But for sure, in brighter areas, then yeah, you guys can see that the craftsmanship that went into the dial here, the Shippo enamel dial. If I rotate it in the sunlight, this. Yeah, so again, it's a very expensive watch. This is definitely one of my most expensive watches, and it's a Seiko Presage. But you know, to be fair, it's there is a lot of work that went into this watch, the dial of the watch, right? And if a Swiss watch, actually Swiss watches don't have this kind of dial, but if they did, then I bet it would be more expensive than this watch actually, because you actually see watches like IWC Big Pilots, for example, which are much more expensive than this, but they don't come close to the type of dial that the Seiko has. So yeah, you see much more expensive Swiss brands with stuff like that, even German brands, right? A lot of the Pilot watches for German brands, a lot of the Bauhaus designed German watches, more expensive than this. They don't have anything close to the dial that this has. Like, when Japanese products are expensive, they're expensive for a good reason. There's a lot of like high labor cost and craftsmanship behind it, whereas I find with a lot of Western products, a lot of it is the marketing budget, right, that they have to make up. A lot of it's hype and marketing that makes up the price of Western products, but with Japanese products, not so much hype and marketing behind them. It's really, they're expensive because there is actual like a great amount of effort behind the the labor of the product, right? So yeah, that's pretty much it. The Seiko Presage limited edition SPB399. Definitely a really nice dress watch. I mean, you can wear it every day as well, but I think as a dress watch, this would be really nice. Alright, so this is a clasp here. And you just undo that. And then this one, lift it up. Then you put it in like this. And let's say you set it here. Okay. So yeah, that's what it looks like. And then close the watch. It looks like that. Okay. Yeah, pretty nice. Yeah, again, the Shippo enamel dial is really, really beautiful. If you hold it up to light, it's a subtle effect, but I think it's done really well. So yeah, let me know what you guys think. This is the Seiko Presage limited edition SPB399 Shippo enamel. Yeah, it's a really beautiful looking watch. Even though it's expensive, especially for a Seiko, I do think that you get what you pay for. So yeah, that's it. As always, thanks for watching.